The island of Lanzarote, which extends over an area of 807 square kilometers, is of volcanic origin. This island arose from the ocean some 25 million years ago as a result of the accumulation of material from repeated eruptions.
Oh, we've come to Lanzarote in the Canary Islands. The first thing is the sea, which I haven't seen for a couple of years or so. It's very nice. It's always reassuring to look at the sea again. I could sit for hours just watching the sea. Then it's a spectacular place, volcanoes all over. And as usual, there's different vegetation here, which always interests me. Cactuses, and it very seldom rains, so it's very much dry weather conditions. I'm lucky I've got a Phil with me who can drive, so we hired a car and taking me around. A lot of little square white houses, because they don't need a roof out here. It's extraordinary. Hardly ever rains. And all painted white, which is very nice, makes a very clean effect. Marvellous blue sky today, not a cloud in it, just transparent blue and sunlight on the waves. You can probably hear the sound of breakers in the background. Not very big ones, because the Atlantic's just over there. We're on the sheltered side of the island. Surprising that Great Ocean is not hasn't got bigger waves than it has. The rocks are all jagged lava. You can't walk on them. Extraordinary, distorted, all over the place rocks. Haven't seen any lizards yet. I keep looking. Maybe they got into hibernation, though it's warm enough for us northerners to come here for the sunshine. Well, we've been on some big cliffs. There's a most interesting place where they've got a sort of visitor centre in amongst miles and miles and miles of quite recently erupted volcanoes. It's the lava hasn't had time to get weathered down, so it could have happened yesterday. It's extraordinary demonstration of what actually comes out of a volcano and the effect of it. You know, normally you see it so long ago that it's all covered in vegetation and you don't get the full impact. But it makes you gape, really. Very, very humbling. Mighty powers of nature. I love it, actually. I love being reduced to nothing in the face of nature. Yes, there was a man here. Again, I can't remember his name. Oh, I know, Cesar Manriquez, who did clever things with the environment and made sort of visitor centres, which are admirable in their way. They're very sort of cleverly presented and obviously draw the crowds, and it shows up the artificiality of our race, that these places can't really be taken naked. They need to be presented in a way that we can digest. Apparently, so I'm told, that underneath all this overlay of lava you get tunnels, sort of air escape routes. I don't quite understand how it works, but there seem to be underground passages as part of the deposit, part of the way that lava is deposited, and these of course far out of sight below the ground collect water in this waterless landscape, and so in the case of this presentation we're led down to where the water is, and there it is, crystal clear water in this waterless land, and as always there's some little creatures managed to live down there, some little tiny white dark crabs like you get in such places, which is again very touching to see, really, how life creeps in. And even on the lava flow itself, you can see the beginnings of lichen, and the experts tell us that there are lots of other little things we can't see which begin to make their home there. But it must take, goodness me, the time scale is, well, it doesn't really make much sense. How many millions of years, what does that mean to us? Doesn't mean much to me, really. Millions, billions of years for this stuff to get weathered down into good soil. Well, surprisingly, in this lava ash, they plant vines. That seems to be one of the first things they grow. They have to build shelter belts of stone around because apparently you get strong winds here, and there's not a weed to be seen. They just get. This is winter time here, although it's as hot as our summer, but there are no leaves on the vines. They're just little sticks sticking out of the lava. But you look at pictures of it in the summer, and each one's it's like a little bubble of green amongst this black earth. But it's not earth, really, it's ash. And they're clever ways they have of protecting what little moisture there is in the soil, spreading black ash over what there is of soil. And these marvellous vines somehow get their roots down into the earth. Amazing, there's so much work for so little return, or so it seems to us. Of course, all done by hand, because you can't get a machine to work amongst these rocks. Obviously, over many, many millennia, men have worked with these razor-sharp stones and built them into terraces and walls and grown there a few potatoes or whatever. A lot of them neglected now because I suppose they can't get a machine to work there, and terraces are falling into ruins, but you can see where they were. Amazing what men will do when every inch is precious and they're hungry. How you can produce, well, you can really turn the most unpromising conditions into something productive. Well, because they're all built in rectangular blocks and painted white, there's a sort of harmonious sameness about it. There are not enough of them to be boring. It's a very pleasing effect. And all being white, you don't really see anything in the sort of grotty end of the housing situation. In fact, there doesn't seem to be any on this island. It's a pretty prosperous place, I guess, with far more tourists coming here than there are inhabitants. So the effect is very clean. It looks lovely, really. I haven't seen a not white house. Yes, I have one or two stone ones up in the hills that haven't been painted, but but very, very few. The towns are little, well, villages really, just entirely white. Imagine that. And all built like matchboxes out of little squares. Not a single proper roof. I don't know what it happens when it does rain. Must be a test of I bet they get a few drips coming through, but it dries up again in a few hours, I suppose. And of course a lot of them have little roof terraces. We're sitting on our roof now on this flat area, just a rail to there, and just across the little road there's the sea. I wish I had one of these at home. I'd live out on it. Smashing. Lovely, lovely stars at night. In the morning, well, as always, I get up very early. Phil usually joins me a bit later. But it's lovely under the stars, except that I meditate with my eyes closed, so I'd rather wasted, aren't they? But I start off anyway. I love expanding up into the stars and the blackness beyond it. I think more than anything on this earth, it's where I feel at home these days, up there in the infinite spaces. I find it hard to talk about it really. It's sort of beyond words, and like with the sea and the sky and the stars, they all bring me to silence rather than to words. I hope you can just hear the sound of the sea coming over this recording. It was really, I'd rather I shut up and you just listen to the sea.
Around there, yeah.